Hey everybody, I'm Cody Huff, and today I'm going to talk to you guys about the popular technique right now. Not just a popular one, but the popular one. Whatever you want to call it, it's got a bunch of names. Mid-Stroilling, Demikian, it's a jig head minnow. You know, that's the best way to just tell you what it is. And I'm going to give you my setup for doing it, something I love to do, called a million bass doing it. But I keep things very simple. I use two different setups, but as far as my rod reel line, I keep that all the same. I'm using a 6/8 medium action rod. I'm putting Sunline Overwatch on for my braid backing, and I usually use like a 10 to 12 pound on that. Doesn't really make any difference. You know, the lighter the braid you use, the faster the fall you're going to get, so I kind of take that into consideration. And you know, I'll move that anywhere from 8 to 16 pound line depending on how deep I'm fishing. But when it comes to leader line, I use the Sunline V-Hard, and I usually use a 12 pound test, because if you're around a lot of bass, if you're around big schools, you want to be able to get those fish in and get back out there and get another one. So, you know, as long as they're not being real picky, the heavier the line I can use, the better for me, so I don't have to worry about breaking them off. When we get to the bait setup, I use VMC jig heads. You know, this one here, it's a 3/16 ounce, and when I'm using something like that, I'm fishing a little bit shallower, usually high floaters, you know, fish 15 feet or less. I've got a 3.5 inch spunk shad on here right now. It's just a nice straight tail bait, got a lot of action when you twitch your rod tip. One thing that a lot of people don't think about is, you know, your jig head size and how much that matters. I'll use anywhere from an 1/8 ounce all the way up to 1 ounce whenever I'm chasing these fish around. When they're down deep and they're swimming fast, you've got to get a jig head that will allow you to get that bait in the fish's point of view. No matter what it is, I'll just keep upsizing my jig head until I'm able to get in front of the fish. The other scenario is when they're so shallow that you have a hard time keeping your bait above them, because that's a big key. That's a nice little trick that a lot of people don't tell you, is a lot of times you're going to want to keep that bait above their head. They're going to see it, and a lot of times that triggers that fish to feed. They're using the surface of the water as like a wall to pin that bait against. So when they're real shallow, it's hard to keep your bait above them. That's whenever, you know, the fish are 5 feet and less, 10 feet and less. That's whenever I go to a hover rig. This is a missile hover rig, and it's on a spunk shad again. And if you take a nice close look at that, you can tell there's a toothpick going through that. That's one thing that's different about this head than a lot of other, you know, hover rig setups. You know, whenever you push that hook through there and that weight through there, it creates a big hole in the nose. One bite, you're changing baits, your bait's sliding down, it's a big pain. But this one has got a hole in it where you can run a toothpick in there, break it off, your bait's going to stay up. It's going to allow you to catch more fish. You know, there's nothing more frustrating when you throw out there and one comes up and nips at it, you jerk and your bait slides down, and then it ruins your chances of catching them. But man, when it comes to the jig head minnow deal, keep it simple, have you a few different sizes varying from light to heavy, and you know, just put your time in and you're going to go out and catch more fish.